do you think people are going to know that Franklin's your dog?
I think so, because we're both pretty big dogs, and I think people can put two and two together like that.
We're both blonde and very high energy.
I think you could tell he is my dog because we both have droopy red eyes and resting sad face.
Have you ever been to the dog park only to realize that you can accurately match the dogs to their owners based solely on appearance? Or has anyone ever told you that your dog looks kind of like you? Well, believe it or not, there's a scientific reason for this. Interested in knowing why? In today's episode, we're exploring the puzzling reason why dogs tend to look kind of like their owners. And yes, it's an actual phenomenon that happens to dog parents and their furry companions all over the world. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to The Smart Canine and hit that notification bell for more interesting dog stories like this. Just go to any dog park and observe, or sit on your front porch and watch the owners walk their dogs. It's likely you'll notice this crazy phenomenon of canine mini-me, where dogs seem to resemble their owners. Perhaps it's that Olympic athlete with a long face and sharp jawline walking his German Shepherd, or the bearded hipster with his shaggy schnauzer. At first it may seem like this is a huge coincidence, but how is it possible that this happens so often and with so many people? Well, dogs certainly don't magically develop to look like their owners. Rather, it has everything to do with how owners pick their dogs. That is, owners tend to pick dog breeds based on the breed's physical resemblance to themselves. Now, you may be thinking that you would never do such a thing. However, this is subconscious, a choice that most humans make when picking their furry companion. And this phenomenon reveals a lot about our narcissistic tendencies, which not only influences how we pick dogs, but also our partners in life.
For Barry, Bubbles is not only his trusted companion and best friend, he's a soulmate.
I think, we look big and strong or, a little bit dominating, but we're not. We're very soft and gentle on the inside. I smile quite a lot and I'm very social, and he's the same, although I don't shake my butt as much as he does.
The first researcher to ever look into this phenomenon was Michael Roy, a psychologist at the University of California in San Diego. He did this by going to 3 local dog parks, where he then photographed 45 dogs and their owners separately. In his study, Roy would ask a group of individuals to play the matching game. Judges were presented with a picture of the owner, that owner's dog, and then another random dog. They would then have to pick out the true match. Nearly every participant was able to correctly match the dog and owner with a reasonable amount of accuracy. Keep in mind, Roy gave no additional information or cues. It was a simple and straightforward matching assignment. Plus, there was no indication that the pair cohabited, such as matching dog collar and necklace, if that even exists. What's even more fascinating is that judges didn't match the two based on any single trait, such as size, hair color, or amount of hair. Rather, it was the overall appearance and resemblance that judges based their choices on. Was it a coincidence? After all, there were only 2 choices, so technically you had a 50% chance at the correct answer every time. Well, this test has been repeated with similar accuracy multiple times, so we can probably rule out the participants getting lucky. Also, similar tests have had the same results in other regions, such as Japan and South America, which likely suggests this is a universal phenomenon. However, these results only hold true when owners had purebred dogs. Just think about it, most mutt dogs tend to vary quite a bit in looks, as opposed to purebred dogs. And when a potential dog owner is picking a purebred puppy, they have full control over what they want. All purebreds have a similar look, and new owners can easily choose one to their liking. On the other hand, most people adopting a dog won't necessarily get a choice with physical appearance. But what researchers have discovered is quite interesting. Most of the time, owners pick dogs based on superficial physical traits and appearances. For example, women with long hair tend to pick dogs with long and floppy ears. In addition, heavier people tend to pick fatter dogs. Or a man with plenty of facial hair might pick up a dog with a similar looking beard. But not all matching traits are as obvious. Even subtle similarities, like sharing a particular eye shape, can influence an owner's decision. In fact, Japanese researchers discovered that when the eyes of the dogs were covered in the photos, it became much more difficult for judges to match them to their respective owners. On the contrary though, when judges were given pictures containing black bars that covered the mouth regions, they were still able to successfully match the owner with the dog. So according to Japanese psychologist Sadahiko Nakajima, this suggests that the eyes are the key to dog-to-person resemblance. Perhaps the most obvious reasoning for this behavior is the allure of familiarity. In other words, it may be more comforting for a dog to resemble the people that the owners are most familiar with or love the most. And of course, there's no one the owners are more familiar with than themselves. Have you ever heard the saying, babies are most beautiful in the eyes of their parents? Well, this may actually be because the children inherit the physical facial characteristics of their parents. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect, a tendency for humans to prefer sights that are very familiar to them.
You've got like a little goatee happening here, and I can't help but notice Ozzy's got one too.
Yeah, he's got the Fu Manchu look going on, the mountain man look.
Do people tell you that you look like him?
Yeah, normally when mine's grown out a little more, we'll get some laughs and stuff walking around in the neighborhood here.
It's why a woman with long brown hair who sees herself in the mirror every day is maybe more likely to pick up an Afghan hound with similar looking long locks of hair. However, other psychologists believe that this type of behavior may be a spillover from how humans evolved to find mates. Researchers have found that people subconsciously prefer to date those that look similar to themselves because physiologically, people believe a similar looking partner will have genes that are more compatible. In fact, this subconscious act extends much further than just finding potential mates and dogs. Some owners look like their cars too. There have even been scientific studies to show an owner's dog also resembles the person's car, further proving this behavior in humans. For example, a person with a square jaw and large mouth may prefer a breed like the Bull Terrier or Pit Bull. This person may also prefer cars with a more aggressive grille and more square-shaped fender. Another theory suggests that, through natural selection, humans have evolved to contain a strong desire and impulse to care for their own child. And of course, the child will almost always look like the parents. So is it possible to trigger these basic nurturing instincts in owners who see small, helpless animals that resemble themselves? Some psychologists seem to think so. According to scientists, the feeling people have about their kids is similar to the feeling they have about their dogs. Many young couples tend to use dogs as a mean of preparation for kids. And when kids eventually move out, they're often replaced with dogs or other pets. All this could just be because humans are genetically programmed to nurture those that look like themselves, whether it's their own child or a dog. However, this level of narcissism that we possess isn't purely superficial. We don't only gravitate towards dogs that look like us, but also towards dogs that share a similar personality as well. For example, optimistic and generally happy people may end up with a golden retriever, Bichon Frise, or a French bulldog. And those who have a strong work ethic may come home with a German Shepherd or Border Collie. Plenty of experiments have shown that certain human traits such as extroversion can actually be measured in dogs. Like if a dog greets every stranger with a huge smile and kisses, then they're likely to be an extroverted companion. And according to a test done by Borbala Turkson at Eötvös University, dogs and their owners more often than not showed a very similar personality profile. The dog-to-human personality matches were so on point that it was actually higher than the personality matches found between married couples or good personal friends. Now, you may be thinking that as dogs spend more time with their owners, they become more alike. However, it didn't matter if the dog spent a few months or a few years with the owner. The results were consistently high.
He even seems to have a kind of cool combed down hairdo that almost matches yours.
You know, here in Texas, we like our hair high. So I do poof mine, not as much poofy as it used to be, but Suki also got a trim. So hers is much shorter to match mine.
So Turkson concluded that the correlation couldn't be explained by the amount of time the dogs and their owners had spent living together. Rather, it's likely that the personality along with the physical appearance were what made the dog breed so appealing in the first place. It's certainly very interesting how everything played out. Tens of thousands of years ago, humans started to domesticate dogs for help in society, but throughout the centuries, we've slowly begun breeding these companions into our own image, thus allowing for better emotional connection between the two species. So, has anyone ever told you that you look like your dog? Why do you think you picked your dog? Let us know in the comment section below. Make sure to share this video with all the dog owners in your life. And if you enjoyed it, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to the Smart Canine for the most interesting stories and facts behind dogs.